After being hired on by the Queen of Locktail, the adventurers prepared themselves for the journey that was ahead of them the following morning. With the wetter weather settling in on the land, Tabbs arranged for a waterproof cloak to be made for him and ready for his return. Others just ensured that the cart was loaded and that their weapons were at the ready. Everything in the cart was supplied to them by the Queen, and therefore not much was needed unless there was some personal errands to take care of. Before settling off on their journey, Tabbs introduced himself to the horse. "Thank you for your support," he spoke to the horse using his innate druidic ability. "Aye," the horse replied to him. "Do you want to be pulling this cart?" "Not really, no. Would rather be out and about." "All right, then let's make a deal. You pull us to our destination, and when we tie you up, the rope might be a little looser than it should be." "Aye, I think I can accept that deal." "Good," Tabbs replied, thanking the horse. He pulls out a piece of paper and quickly sends off a little package to his family back home, explaining to them what he was doing and how he won't be back home for some time. It wasn't long before the others joined Tabbs as he played his pan flute for the horse, and thus their journey together began. Their journey was a 7-day trip and a safe one at that. Those who passed by were simple travelers going to and from the city. The weather was getting colder, and the chill of winter was starting to settle in. On the 3rd day, Tabbs began to hear a voice. He couldn't make out what it was saying and simply shrugged it off as a voice in the wind. As they got closer to their destination, there was less and less people on the road before them until they reached a point in the road. The cart was stopped as the party saw something that was up ahead. A large boulder was on the side of the road with bloodstains. Shoal got out from the cart to investigate the situation, weapon at the ready. What he saw was a body leaning up against the rock with a cloak over their head. Pulling back their cloak, they realized that the person before them was a familiar face. The drow that Tabbs had faced during the Battle of the Champions. She lay on the ground severely wounded in the stomach. The wound appeared to be fairly fresh and there was still a small amount of life still within her. Shoal called out to the rest of the members on the cart to help. Madnolynne hesitantly approached the body and began to heal the wounds that she had sustained. With a gasp of air, she began to speak. "What? Where?" "Easy. Do you mind telling us what happened?" Shoal asked. "There's an ambush. I was summoned to the village because something was threatening the forest. 4 men are up ahead attacking anyone who tries to enter." She looked down at her bloodstained clothes. "Thank you." Tabbs and Levi joined the others to discuss what course of action they would ensue. They helped Nameless into the cart so that she may rest while they take care of the things on her behalf. They decided it was best to continue on foot into the forest and catch the ambush with an ambush of their own. Nameless decided it was best to hide herself under bedding that was in the cart just in case. The group ventured forward into the forest and kept a sharp eye out ahead of them. It wasn't long before they were able to catch a glimmer of the weapons reflecting in the sunlight. 2 bandits were waiting in the trees, while another 2 were waiting on the road. Shoal climbed up into one of the trees and attacked one of them, while Levi easily took down the other with his bow. Madnolynne and Tabbs fought off the ones on the ground, and it didn't take long for them to take care of the group of bandits before them. Out of shock, Nameless thanked them for their help and agreed to guide them to her village. She took them deeper into the forest as the trees began to slowly block out any sunlight. It was dimly lit in the forest that set off a weird feeling. Something strange was within the forest, but no one could really make sense as to what it was. As they ventured further, they reached the outskirts of the village. Here's where they met the village elder, an elven woman dressed in dark red and white. She came from the bushes with guards at her side and immediately took notice to Nameless. "Where have you been, you bubbling idiot?" she yelled out in her druidic language. I'm sorry, Nameless immediately began to cower. Tabbs began to tie up the horse on a nearby tree, keeping to his promise of allowing the horse to roam free. Levi took notice to this and retied the knot tighter, murmuring about how he was with a bunch of people that couldn't tie a basic knot. Tabbs realized what he was doing, and as soon as he left, untied it and loosely tied it up again. This went on for a few moments as the elder continued to angrily yell at Nameless. "You are the priestess of the village. Don't you understand that you have responsibilities to adhere to? What if something were to have happened to you? Don't you understand what is at stake every time you do this?" Nameless continued to bow her head and take the verbal discipline. "Forgive me. Who is it that you have brought?" She gestures to the group behind Nameless. "These are adventurers who had helped me." Please allow them to remain in the village for as long as they require. That's fine, so long as they don't cause any trouble, and as for you, the elder approaches Nameless and proceeds to grab her by the ear and pull her further in. Following the two, the adventurers are welcomed into the small village filled with a variety of people. They watch as Nameless is dragged towards a large tent tucked away decorated in beads and feathers. Seeing as how they were with Nameless upon their arrival, the villagers didn't seem to take any immediate threat to them. They simply go about their day, allowing the adventurers to explore what they have to offer. Upon entering the village, Tabs hears the voice once again. However, this time he was able to make out the words, "Welcome home." The village is small and with a variety of different types of people. What is all shared among them is their way of life using the nature around them. A small stream runs through the village where people tend to wash their meals and belongings. Fish is being smoked nearby, while others sharpened hunting tools for the day. Many people have accustomed to a life of harvesting and hunting the variety of life that is within the forest. It appears that not most, if at all, have lived a life beyond the forest for quite some time. Shoal approaches the small dwarf prepping fish to be smoked, curiously watching him. "Do you mind if I have a taste?" The dwarf, with a large smile on his face, cuts off a finished piece in excitement. "Well, of course, friend. It's the best in the village." Shoal takes the piece and eats it. The savory and smoky flavor of the fish awakens his taste buds in a way he had never experienced before. "Good, isn't it?" "I've never had anything like this before, but yes, it is rather tasty, thank you." The dwarf cuts him off a larger amount. "Here, just because I like you." The others observe the area and the people, unsure of what they should be doing, or how they should be locating the sage that could be residing within the forest. They ask the people, but all proclaim that Daru is the forest. Others suggest praying to the praying tree nearby, and maybe it will help them guide them. But alas, no one has actually seen Daru or know of his whereabouts. Nameless comes out of her tent, no longer wearing her leather armor. She walks out wearing a long, white, simple robe with a crown of flowers on her head, her face no longer concealed by her dark blue hair or cloak, revealing the scars lining her face. The rune-like scars etched into her skin down her face was visible to everyone now. She walks up to the party. "So what is it that brought you into our forest?" "We are searching for a person. One of the sages, in fact. We believe that Daru the Earth Sage is located somewhere in the forest," Levi replied. "Well, of course, Daru is the forest. He created it and has given us a home." "That seems to be what everyone is saying," Tabs replied. "Come with me and you may understand," she states, walking past them. The group follows Nameless away from the village to a small opening. Here stands a large tree that towers over the rest. The trunk of the tree is thick, suggesting that it is much older than any of the others that are surrounding it. "This is the praying tree," Nameless gestures. "This is where I conduct my prayers in the hopes that Daru will listen." Tabs approaches the tree and begins to notice something strange. It was almost like an appearance of a face within the tree. Looking down, runes were present on a large broken rock. They were the same type of runes that Cherim had presented to them to test their aptitude for the quest. "Do you know what these mean?" he asks Nameless. "No, I have no clue. Nobody in the village does." "It looks like it's broken. Do you know where the other part is?" "No, I have no clue, sorry." Tabs pulls out his notebook and begins to reference the runes to the ones he saw before. The others began doing the same, trying to make sense as to what it says. The runes looked very similar, but there was something about them that wasn't quite the same. The shapes on some of the words were slightly different from before. They tried word after word to make a coherent sentence, but nothing really was making sense to them. Nameless blurts out, "I remember!" They all look at her in confusion. She points at Levi. "There was someone from a while ago who came into the village and looked a lot like you." For being of a Triton race, even Leviathan was considered an oddity among them, with his eel-like appearance hailing from the deep-sea regions. No, he was a fish-like person. He had webbed feet and everything. But that's not the point. I remember him decoding this. She continues, pointing to one part of the rune at the end. "I remember he was saying that was the word blue." "Blue, eh?" Tabs replied. The group continued to work together to try and solve the puzzle, and eventually they were able to decipher it. Daru grants the spirit life. The spirit grants Daru blue. "Do you know what this means?" Tabs asks. "The spirit guardian. It is said that the spirit guardian creates blue flowers in the forest. He is a formidable spirit, and it is said that he was brought to life along with a force from Daru. He resides within the pond, but I must warn you, it is not safe to be around there." She holds up his hands and emits a small glow, bestowing a small blessing to the party. "I will guide you to the pond, but I will assure you I will not step foot within it."